So, thank you.
Please rise for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Kushner,
Here.
Osborne,
Here.
Latari. Here. Jones.
Here.
Euler.
Here. Approval of city council minutes. Motion to approve. Oh, go ahead.
Move to approve.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes. Item 4, adoption of agenda.
Move to approve agenda as presented.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes. Look at that, we're down to number 5, just like that. Item 5.1, presented by Jessica Vinverlo, Management Analyst. Presentation of Q1 fiscal year 26 report.
Filled up for me. Thanks, Gary. Feeling clutch. Okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. It's my pleasure to present to you the Q1 report for the fiscal year 2026. After the end of each quarter, finance sits down, we kind of crunch the numbers and then present a report to you. So this includes an analysis of our financial activity from Q1, so that's October 2025 to December 2025. So we present those actuals along with that same time period of the year before, our year-end estimates and the total budget. So this just kind of gives us an opportunity to go over how revenues and expenses are performing compared to what we budgeted. And I always like to preface that this is the first quarter. The situation is very fluid as we go throughout the year. Our ability to project and estimate gets a lot better. I kind of call Q1 like the red flag quarter. So if there's any kind of big issues that immediately pop out, this is our chance to kind of address those and look at those. I'm happy to report we don't have any of those. So I'll kind of go through some of the highlights briefly with you all, and then happy to stand for any questions you might have. So I'll start with the general fund, which is of course our primary operating fund. Most of our city services are within that fund. Revenues are on track to meet budget there. No major areas of concern. As always, we do continue to closely monitor sales tax just because it is a huge source of revenue for that fund and citywide more generally. On the expense side of things, there are a couple things I just wanted to review with you, kind of point out, go over, explain. The first is other services, which looks to be $460,000 or so over budget. But that is just due to, as you remember, when we were working on the fiscal year 26 budget, we took a vacancy credit for city positions. And so that's essentially a contra expense. So in accounting, expenses are generally positive. This is a negative. So it just reduced our expense burden in this fund. And we did this because historically we've been budgeting for full staffing, and then our reality has not been full staffing. And so we've been contributing to fund balance at the end of the year. So we took a vacancy credit to kind of more realistically budget for those personnel expenses for the upcoming fiscal year. I also wanted to talk about capital outlay, which looks really scary and $1 million over budget. I promise it's not. So I will be presenting to you an amendment for Lions Lake that extended primarily into fiscal year 26. And so we're just kind of cleaning this up and accounting for those expenses within this year there. And then we have some savings in the maintenance category, primarily a little bit in commodities as well. But we've been working internally to shift some of our general fund expenses into the CIP fund so that we can kind of free up some resources to look at our pay plan and hopefully do some salary adjustments for our staff.
Sorry, can you say would you mind to note what page you're talking about
yes,
as
of
you
course.
go? I think that would help me and it might help other folks who are trying to follow.
No,
along.
for sure. Sorry.
Thank you. No, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. There's a
Okay.
lot of data. Thank you.
Yes, no. Okay. For water pollution control, so that's on page 11. Revenues, charges for service are kind of our main operating revenue there. Those are looking quite favorable, pretty much in line with the rate increase that was passed at the beginning of last fiscal year, but we might even exceed some of those initial estimates as well. We continue to receive the $22 million in revenue bond proceeds periodically. We get those on a reimbursement basis, so as we incur expenses for the project, we submit to MoDNR for the state revolving fund, and we get those funds from them. For expenses, which is on that next page, so page 12 for water pollution control, We had anticipated using a fund balance transfer to cover the cost of enterprise lift station. So that's why you kind of see some red there. We also added the solar projects at the two east and west plants after the budget adoption. So that's kind of in that other services line as well. So that's why it looks over. So for the solar project, we anticipate using a debt financing, lease financing, an instrument like that to reimburse those costs, the upfront ones that we've experienced there. For parks, so we're going to move on to parks. Their revenue starts on page 13. Also largely on target there. I do want to note that finance is still very conservatively estimating what we think we're going to bring in for the new fees and kind of those increased memberships, just because a lot of those started to roll in January. So we're really optimistic and excited to look at Q2, but finance is still kind of keeping it a bit conservative right now just because of the historical activity there. A few operating expenses. So on next page, on page 14, there are a few operating expenses in parks that we're anticipating are going to be over budget. One of which in the capital outlay category, they had some water leak repairs over at parks, unfortunately, that we had to fix. And so those kind of contributed some increased expenses there. We also have on insurance, there's a misalignment right now with the timing of when the city receives our property insurance renewal estimates. So we receive those usually July, August. And Parks approves their budget in June. And so there's kind of a little misalignment there, but we're working to try to kind of close that gap and get them some better information so that they can account for that in the future budget. I also have a $343,000 amendment for you in our next item for the front desk project. Those kind of contracts and bids were finalized after the fiscal year 25 budget and kind of as this one was starting. So next I'll talk about the CIP funds. So that starts on page 15. That's for the 210 fund, and then 215 is on 16, but I'm going to kind of talk about them together. So revenue in both of those looking good, coming in largely on target. Both funds, we anticipated a fund balance transfer to pay for some additional initiatives and projects we have going on. Again, I will present an amendment to you for the solar project. That's being paid out of 215 for the one at the PD over their parking. And similar to WPC, we'll be using some sort of lease financing instrument to pay for those. And we will provide an update on you, kind of the timeline of what that's going to look like. Our city manager has been working very diligently on it, so we'll kind of give you an idea of where that's going to look like in the future. And then last but not least, I'm going to talk about solid waste, which is on page 17. This is the first time I get to provide to you a first quarter update for solid waste, so that's exciting. As you remember, service didn't start until March of last year. Things are looking really good in solid waste, very favorable. I just want to note here that since this is a new fund, we've talked internally and with council about the difference in the way that revenue is recognized for governmental funds like the general fund and enterprise funds like sewer and solid waste. And so we're presenting here on a received basis rather than billed. So traditionally in enterprise fund, revenue is recognized when it's billed. And so just to kind of provide a better idea to you all and to the public about kind of cash flow for solid waste, here we have what we've received. So even then, performing very, very favorably, we had budgeted a delinquency rate of 10%. We're sitting at more like 4%. So things are doing very well there. You will notice that in the expense section of solid waste, we do anticipate the contract with Constable will be a little bit more than we anticipated, but that's just because the house count is a bit more than our initial estimates, and that varies directly with our revenue. So no concerns there, but we'll keep looking at that, and we might bring an amendment for that expense as we progress through the year. So that is all I have for you. Those are kind of the highlights, the notes, things I wanted to address, but happy to stand for any questions you might have.
Any questions?
No, I like it, the way you set this up,
Thank
how to read the report, and you started out that way, and I think it helps us, and then it helps the public if they go online and they see this, so that they can read through it and understand it. It's very nice, thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, I was planning on noting that it's exceptional for cities to do a quarterly report to this level of detail, let alone produce this quality of a document. And as you can see, Jessica knows this stuff backwards and forwards. So
Yes, we're
it's
very,
very easy.
very fortunate.
Item 6.1. First and second reading ordinance, an ordinance amending ordinance 5978 concerning the adopted fiscal year 2026 annual budget beginning October 1, 2025, presented by Jessica.
Good evening again. This should come as no surprise to you by the amount of times I mentioned I will bring forth an amendment for your consideration. So I have a slate of amendments presenting to you tonight for the fiscal year 2026 budget. So as you remember, we talked about kind of bringing these forth on more of a quarterly basis. So when we're doing our quarterly reports, using that process as an intentional point for us to check in and bring forth amendments for your consideration. This allows us to be more consistent with our communication about the budget. And it also just helps promote transparency with our expenses to both you and to the public. So I do have 4 amendments for you tonight. They total an increase in $3.1 million in budgetary authority for fiscal year 26, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But these are all projects that we've talked about pretty consistently. All of these contracts have been brought forth to you and approved in prior years, and all come from existing revenue sources, anticipated revenue sources, or fund balance. So I kind of want to touch more on the anticipated. So as I talked about, the solar projects are both going to be funded through lease proceeds, and we're going through that process right now. So we will receive that revenue to cover those upfront costs. And then, so as I mentioned, we have the Lions Lake project that'll come out of the general fund for 1.1 million. We have Parks, their front desk project. WPC, the 2 solar installations at both plants, and then for the half-cent sales tax fund, the cost of the solar PD, the PD solar at the over their parking. So staff would recommend approval of the ordinance as submitted. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, council?
No.
No. Okay, thank you,
Okay, thank
Jessica.
you.
Here's the one.
We have an ordinance in front of us.
Motion to move to second reading by title.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to just, I'm thinking, where are we?
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance 5978 concerning the adopted fiscal year 2026 annual budget beginning October 1, 2025. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.1, a resolution authorizing the city manager and city clerk to submit a better utilization investments to leverage development, a build grant application on behalf of the city of Warrensburg for improvement of the McGuire Street corridor from Young Street to Cooper Boulevard, pledging a match of $4,987,600 and requesting $19,950,400 of build grant funding presented by Mike Scraggs, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm sure you recall not less than a month ago on January 26th, we talked about the build process and authorized contracting with Burns and McDonnell to help prepare an application for the build grant. And Brenda Mackey and Burns and Mack staff are here, and I'll give her an opportunity to come to the podium and correct anything that I say and answer any questions that you might have here in a little bit. But the build grant kind of takes the place of raise grants previously, and the mayor read the entire title of what build stands for. I think the thing of note is there's $1.5 billion of build funding nationwide. While that sounds like a lot, at $25 million maximum per project, that's about 60 projects. So similar to raise, I'd always heard that raise, there's about 2 projects awarded per state. And so it's very competitive. I do think this project is right in the wheelhouse of, building infrastructure and efficient investment. And then you probably have seen by way of the draft application that there are very specific criteria that are called out. And Burns and Mack's done a terrific job of segmenting every one of those. Sometimes the narrative is repetitive, but someone reading that application can't help but see our case as it relates to each one of those consideration criteria. And so the application deadline is tomorrow. So we've timed this in such a way that assuming that you approve tonight, we'll take the necessary steps to submit tomorrow. We've yet to complete the design in full detail, but part of what Burns and Mack did And the short intervening time was prepare a cost estimate. That's that 24,930,000 number. Couple things of note there. We had a strategic conversation about the Holden Street Bridge, and I'll take responsibility for making the call that just from a competitive standpoint, it was my assessment that making a request for two bridges that close of proximity probably was not going to help our competitiveness in that cycle. So this is focused just on the McGuire Street Bridge over 50 Highway, but then the entirety of the corridor from Young Street to Cooper Boulevard. I hope you saw in the staff report and in the application narrative that we've just recently gone through the Safe Streets for All process, identified and prioritized intersection locations by crash severity score. And so the three highest are in this project corridor, and then all of the intersections within this project corridor are 5 of the top 10. So this certainly addresses kind of our highest needs as it relates to traffic improvements beyond just the overpass over 50 Highway.
I believe we had a crash the day after that Safe Streets meeting
Yeah, I think
at
you're-
Cooper Boulevard.
I think you're right. And so I think the application is well prepared in terms of trying to be responsive to the criteria. I think the biggest decision point for you is we have some opportunity to choose what we want to propose in the way of a local match. And Brenda can speak to this better than I can possibly, but there are, as a rural community, we could request 100% funding. Then there's also considerations for areas of persistent poverty, and a portion of the corridor is in a designation of areas of persistent poverty. So we could make the case that we minimize our local match. It's really kind of a strategic determination at that point. Those communities that aren't rural or aren't in the areas of persistent poverty, the minimum match is 20%. And so as part of the staff report, I provided you a table of 90-10, 80-20, 75-25, the smaller number being the local contribution. And it's certainly within your discretion to give direction on what percentage and then what resulting dollar amount you'd like to see us apply for. Not to be flippant, but I'd rather have 77.5% of $25 million than 100% of nothing, which is the risk you run if you don't get awarded. And so you might have noticed I threw out a new number for you, thinking about over the weekend a little bit. That 80-20 number is the non-rural communities, they required match. So one possible strategic approach would be to bump up from 80-20 just a little bit and do 77.5, 22.5, hoping maybe that garners us some favor. Now, having said that, the application has to get through kind of the first pass of the scoring criteria. The local match is something the secretary and his staff or designees could take into consideration kind of in the next process. So we'd have to have merit to kind of make consideration, and then it's hard to say what that process is. Did try to do a little bit of research, reached out to Congressman Alford's office, asked if they had any insight. They really didn't. What little research I did online, I couldn't see anything that provided any additional insight. So I think I'd be happy to try to answer any questions as it relates to the project itself. Brenda Mackey is certainly well informed in terms of the cost estimating as well as the process. And I do want to pause and give her the opportunity to add detail or correct anything that I provide.
I'm just curious, the time frame before they get to announcement, how long a time are we kind of looking at, Brenda?
Announcements.
Or stages, maybe go through stages of.
Good to see everyone.
Good to see you all.
Brenda Mackey. I'm here with Kylie Clark, who is one of our grant specialists, and Drew Matrician is actually on Zoom as well.
Okay.
So we're here and available to answer questions. The notice of funding has said that selections should occur on or before the end of June. So June 28th was what was in the notice of funding. That's similar to the last cycle, where we saw it in that time frame. So you should know here summer. One thing that they did do on this last cycle was if you did get to that last 6th step in the last cycle, you were automatically placed in this cycle.
So that's something to consider if you get far enough along in this cycle. There may be a similar criteria moving forward. How the city manager did a great job of overviewing where we're at. The big lift for this was putting together that benefit cost analysis, or the BCR number. So you now have a conceptual cost for the interchange and the roadway from Cooper down to Young, which we did not have that level of detail before. And we have that summarized in a report for the city. So that was the big piece of it. And then putting together step by step the requirements that are in the notice of funding.
Are there letters of endorsement or support?
Yes, I
Any?
put out requests for about 24, have 16 of them so far. Of particular note, just came in today. I think I emailed you. I can't remember. The district engineer from MoDOT got their letter of support today. I think I mentioned in the staff report, Congressman Alford's provided a letter of support. Quite a few local agencies, everything from the fire district, ambulance district. It's no one's turned us away, and the remainder, about half of the remainder, I knew were pretty aggressive asks. Governor Kehoe, Missouri Secretary of Transportation, and then a couple of agencies are having to have board meetings and work through it. I guess one other thing that I probably should cover, touched on it in the staff report, but we do have to provide some assurance of the availability of funds. And so the resolution references our general fund balance. That's probably the easiest thing to demonstrate at the moment. Staff has also done a review of the bond finances that were available as part of the initial issuance. And I'd be happy to go through it in detail for you. But if you take the bond revenue, the interest earnings that we've earned on those bonds, you subtract out the arbitrage payments. If you earn too much interest, you have to give some back. You back out the expenditures to date, you back out the remaining expenditures that we anticipate, our design cost share for the cost share with MoDOT to take it from where we are now to a final design. The build grant application services from Warrensburg. Capital Construction, by way of their contract with us, gets a portion of savings realized as part of the project as a construction manager. So there's a little bit of rebate there. You boil all that down, and then the other thing I should tell you is much like ARPA funds and having to use ARPA funds on a timeline, we used some bond funds for our street CIP just so that to kind of draw down the bond balance, but we're tracking that number. And so treating that as a rebate to come back to the funds available for McGuire. You put all that together and that leaves about $2.7 million of funds left from the bonds. Still got to get numbers finalized. And then in my staff report, I noted that we have 2 certificates of participation that will be maturing, one for City Hall renovations and one for the Hamilton Street project. If we take the revenue stream that's now paying that debt and redirect it to this project when that debt pays off, that's another 6.7 million. So you take those two, you take the bond proceeds, you take our ability to finance in the future, that gets you to about 9.5 million in and of itself without touching the general fund reserve balance. For the purpose of this application, to demonstrate to the federal government that we have sufficient funds, rather than do that whole exercise and count on a debt issuance in the future, we've indicated that it's available in reserve.
And once we approve this, the funds, the matching funds, do we have to set it aside, earmark it?
Yeah, we have to have that available if the grant's awarded. So we would earmark it while we wait to see the status of the grant application. And then unrelated to the build grant, I think we've had this conversation before, but this is kind of the first effort to try to get funding. Missouri Department of Transportation, we're participating in their process, and we're on their radar, finalizing the design and getting a final cost estimate will help that process considerably. So build would be great. The whole goal is federal funds, local funds, state funds come together to try to fund this project. So build's one opportunity, community project funding or direct appropriations at the federal level is another, and then it's kind of matriculating through the MoDOT process with the Transportation Advisory Committee with the Regional Planning Commission and their transportation planning
Do,
process.
do we have to wait, for the results of the build, application before we can start the process of asking for funding from MoDOT?
Yeah, well, the next thing that we need to start is authorizing Burns and Mac to do the design at a higher level of detail. So
And that
we'll
we
be
already
bring-
have the money for that, don't we?
yes, that's the cost share with MoDOT for the design phase.
Okay,
So we'll bring that to you. Then that'll take Burns and Mac quite a while to, work at that level of detail. If we're lucky enough to get the build grant, then it all starts to come together. Regardless of whether we get the build grant, that design exercise is with MoDOT, and that'll kind of facilitate that ongoing conversation about funding. I would describe it as they're aware of the project. It is on the Transportation Advisory Committee priority list, but until we have a higher level of detail of design and cost estimating, they're really waiting for that.
And if we pass the resolution tonight, then it's ready, it's all ready to go, just put it in the mail tomorrow or?
But we'll be updating some of the numbers with whatever's decided tonight.
Okay.
We're very close. And
All right.
then right now, Drew is scheduled to meet with the city tomorrow morning and help with the upload process.
Okay.
is it submitted electronically?
That other option, I'm not sure I saw that. I may have missed it because I found out I've missed some other emails from other folks this week, but could you tell me what those numbers are?
Sure. So the last one I just threw at you, it wasn't in the staff report.
Okay, okay.
So on page 3 of the staff report, there's a table.
Yep.
That has 90, 10, 80, 20, 75, 25, and it
Mhm.
shows the non-federal share, which would be ours.
Right.
And then the build grant amount that we would be requesting. And so 80-20 is the middle line,
Mhm.
essentially $4,987,600 of local funds, 19,950 and $400 of build grant funds. If we wanted to do 22.5% of local match, that would make our number 5,611,050, and it would make the federal build grant number 19,326,950. So that's really just kind of a shot in the dark of whether that is, it's kind of like pricing at 99 cents. Is there some psychological advantage to that?
I'm sorry, could you say the local number again for that 77.5
Sure, 5,611,050.
and 50?
Okay.
What do you all think about, are those numbers going to be attractive, distracting? I mean, you can't read their minds, I know that, but.
Definitely can't read their minds. It's different every cycle too.
Yeah.
Like the city manager described as a rural classification, you have the option of trying to get 100% funding, which some other communities don't have that option. And then once you get to that 6th step in the process is when the local match should be more weighted at that point. Build raise has been subjectively selected in the past, likely will again this time, but I think this application makes a good case, especially with all of the data starting to come together. So from what we've learned through the design processes and the SS4A process, it's starting to make a very compelling case for improving this corridor, making it safer, making traffic flow better. It's all starting to come together. Do you have anything to add on the?
I mean, Mary, you asked
possibility?
about the process. I can illuminate that a bit. I've got a printout of the notice of funding opportunity here. So 6-step process. First step is that DOT reviews the application just for its eligibility. So at that first phase, they're just looking about your rural or in areas of persistent poverty designations. And so rural and part of the project being in an area of persistent poverty, it would move on. The match would not be considered at that point. The next phase is the merit criteria review. So that's like that larger file you reviewed ahead of this meeting. And so if you pass that criteria review, they then send you to the 3rd step, which is the project readiness review. So they look at and kind of subjectively consider if they think that the applicant is ready to move that project forward based on like the risk of the project not meeting obligation and construction timelines, applicant capacity and experience to deliver the project, and then financial completeness of the project funding. And additionally, the benefit cost analysis review. Does the benefits of the project outweigh the costs?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. The quantified benefits. Did you all do that? Okay, wow.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a methodology that you were able to make use of.
We use the Bridge Improvement Programs calculator,
Mhm.
so that's another potential funding mechanism later this year that could be utilized. So we use a standard DOT calculator to help
Okay.
summarize the benefits.
Do you have those numbers in front of you, the quantified benefits? I have them. I didn't know if you have
I
them.
don't
but
have them like.
It's really impressive. You mind if I read them real quick? These are your numbers, but part of the quantified benefits, it says travel time savings, $37.5 million, safety benefits, $10.5 million, vehicle operating cost savings, $9.5 million, health and amenity benefits, 5.2 million, environmental benefits, 375,000, and residual value residual value, 600,000. And then the straw net, which would being part of strategic highway with the Whiteman Air Force Base and fixing the bridge, it's short. I don't know if they jacked that up or something, but.
And pedestrian access.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just one of those.
Safety and,
Mm,
yeah,
very
that's,
exciting,
that's,
very cool.
that's some very impressive numbers you all have there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll add that I think we were conservative with the values we were using. DOT, when they come to do the BCA review, they are pretty critical. And they have no fear of kind of tearing the BCA apart and seeing how low they can get it. So I think we were confident in like the conservative methodology we had. So like if the application gets past that project readiness and BCA review, it goes on to like the senior review team where they consider all of the other ratings and then how quickly the project can enter construction. The senior review team at that fifth step determines the list that goes to the secretary for the secretary to choose from. And then it's at that final stage that the secretary may consider, you know, the share of non-federal funds as a competitive factor. If they've got a list of projects and they've got to pick from some really great
Yeah.
applications.
Did they do this by region or is it just national or all open or?
So 50% of the funds are set aside for rural projects, 50% are set aside for urban. It goes on to say 5% of funds have to be awarded to planning projects. This is a construction project. And then at least 1% of funds are to be awarded to areas of persistent poverty. And so there's not any strict criteria as far as geographically where they need to be split up. The notice of funding opportunity asks the secretary can consider some geographic equity when choosing projects. And I think the city manager said like typically they might choose like 2 projects per state. If, you know, all projects were asking for upwards of $15 million.
Okay.
So it didn't occur to me till just now. There were $13 billion in funding requests for the RAISE program in 2024 and 117 projects awarded. And what I was trying to find is the number of applications that were submitted compared to how many were awarded. I don't see the number, but 13 billion when there was 1.4 billion available, so basically 10 times.
Very competitive.
Any other questions for Burns or McDonald? Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Exciting.
Good luck.
It's exciting to see this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is so much data, but pretty darn easy to read. So I appreciate the skill of all the data collection, but also the compiling it into a readable format. Thank you.
Thank you for feedback. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So it was in the beginning of my report, my written report. I didn't state it verbally, but with Burns and Mac's help, we did get the Safe Streets for All grant, the Emerging Contaminants grant, and the MoDOT Design Cost Share Grant. So it is all kind of dovetailing together and hopefully we can keep the momentum going. So,
Absolutely. Are you ready for a motion?
Yes, I believe we are.
Motion to approve the resolution. Attached. Let's see, pledging local match of $4,987,600 and requesting $19,950,400 of build grant funding.
Am I able to ask a question now, or was it too,
Not too late.
because did we want to discuss at all the other option? I was hoping we would discuss that before. I'm sorry, I didn't catch you in time, but we were given three options here and then a fourth option. Are we going to discuss whether we want to do that fourth option or not?
yeah, I apologize for throwing you the curveball,
No, it's
but
all right.
thinking about this all weekend long, my only thinking with that additional number is if you have a whole segment of applicants at
Mhm.
the 80-20 number, does something more than 20.
Would that stand out more, maybe
Right.
because it's
But
different?
I don't claim to have any more insight than any of the rest of you in that regard.
But it's different thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would,
I can withdraw my motion. Is that would you like me to, I'll withdraw my motion. We can start over.
Wasn't seconded.
Pardon me?
you would say.
Yeah, I didn't hear a second, so that's fine.
so I would propose that we let me get my agenda correctly up in front of me, that we adjust the resolution to reflect the new percentages presented by the city manager of 77.5 and 22.5. Which I will try to state the numbers and make sure, correct me if I'm wrong, which would be 19,326,950 and $5,611,050.
Correct.
Good.
So move.
Thank you, Susie.
Do we need a second? Because I thought Doug Harris said we didn't need second.
Not Doug.
It's
I'll second.
Adam, but
Okay,
Go ahead and call.
just,
You don't need, you don't need a second reading, right? You need a second to a motion.
Yeah.
Kushner,
yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Want to do those?
Sure.
Do you want to read them or want me to read them?
Either way.
I'll let you read them. Never
Okay.
get to.
All right. So we're at mayoral appointments.
Mhm.
Okay. We have under item 8.1 on the agenda, mayoral appointments. There's a motion to appoint Willie Taylor as board member for the Diversity and Inclusion Commission, filling an unexpired term through October 2027. And reappoint Bruce Euler as city council representative, voting director for Depot Renovation, Preservation, and Maintenance Corporation Board of Directors through February 2029. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Move to approve as presented.
Kushner,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Latari,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Euler.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's why I had to read it, because I was one of them, so. Thank you very much, Jody.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Oh, nobody. Okay.
I'm not as polished as you.
Item 9, appearances to the council not listed on the agenda. We have no one signed up. Miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council.
We have a couple small things.
Okay,
Jeff Rame, who is on the Energy and Sustainability Task Force. We did just meet tonight. It was a rescheduled meeting, and I was finally able to confirm with him that yes, he would be happy to serve.
Great.
The current role through, I believe, October of 27. I apologize, I don't remember the dates, but he's happy to serve a new term that would actually start in, I think, August of last year officially through 2027. I am going to be out of town for our next meeting, but I will be able to Zoom in on March 9. So I just wanted to FYI that. So I'll be sure to log in half an hour early. And then I wondered if council would be interested in, at some point, not right now, because maybe getting it out early here, to have a conversation either at another city council meeting or at another public meeting about the possibility of adding public comment towards the beginning of the meeting. Perhaps a different kind of format. My concern is that I would like folks to be able to speak to concerns that are on the agenda that may not rise to the level of needing a public hearing or public comment period specifically for those items, so that folks can share their opinions about, for example, the budget update that we got, without having to wait till the end after we've already discussed it. I'm not asking anyone to agree to that, I'm just asking if you'd be willing to discuss it at a future public meeting. It's a concept to discuss.
Yeah,
and-
we certainly talk about that. We moved the proclamations to the beginning just because everybody leaves right after that.
Yeah.
Make them stay here all evening sometime.
Yeah, I'm definitely not trying to add time. My thought is there a way to just make sure that folks can be heard before we discuss things? Okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Again, no rush.
Any other items of
That's it for me.
miscellaneous matters? Okay. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
City staff updates, city manager.
So as you're aware, but for those that aren't, last week Missouri Municipal League had the day at the Capitol, and we had a handful of people go to the Capitol. The mayor, Councilwoman Jones, Councilwoman Latari, myself, Jessica Vinfrello, had good meetings with our representative Brandon Phelps and our senator Rick Bratton, and heard good information from Missouri Municipal League. Keynote speakers the next morning were the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, and the state auditor. So good information, good conversation. We'll stay on top of that. Like Councilwoman Latari, I will physically not be here at the next meeting, but I do plan to Zoom in. So I will be out of the office the week of spring break, but we'll Zoom in while I'm away. I think that's all I have.
And to add reminder, I will not be here and I cannot do it.
Okay. Anybody else not gonna be here?
I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. City staff updates, administrative services, Jessica. Okay, city staff updates, city clerk.
I don't have anything this evening.
All right. Community development, Barbara.
I would just say thank you for coming out Thursday night. Several of you made it. Appreciate that. I have nothing additional.
Fire department, chief. Okay, thank you very much. It was a wonderful awards banquet the other night. And your department, not only the outstanding people, but you've gone through some real tragic events the last couple of years. It was really nice that Alex came and Tony Barron's child that came and mother of his children. So it was a really nice event. We thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. You have an impressive group there. Parks Department. Police Department, chief.
Nothing additional.
Okay. Additional, what did you have earlier? Nothing to add. Public Works Department. Okay, what's the story? Tell the story.
So Phil's traveling and they preemptively canceled all flights out of New York City. So he can't travel until Tuesday, I don't think.
We think he's in New York City, not
He
Miami.
has been emailing and participating from a distance.
he's alive.
Okay, all right.
That's good.
Was there snow or sand?
And he is online and thankfully he's not in Mexico or Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, there you go. And that brings us up to Marcy.
Nothing additional.
All right.
What's going on with FIFA? Anything happening? Meetings? How's that going? Really? Yes.
She's like, I'm trying to get us out of here.
Mayor Bueller, council members, we do have a group of community organizations and representatives from those organizations. We've been meeting since July. We come together once a month. We talk about the event. We do the event overview. And then we talk about what the communication committee is doing. The communication committee is a group of individuals from those organizations that are represented on that community planning group. And so what our goals for that communication committee, we have 3 goals. We have getting our businesses involved, getting our residents involved, and getting our visitors here. We know that we are 52.7 miles from Arrowhead KC Stadium. We've seen the Kansas City news. We know that we're not going to have hundreds and thousands of influx of international visitors, but we know it's an exciting time in our area, and it's an exciting time for just the United States. We have not had the World Cup since 1994, and we may not have it in our lifetime. So what an opportunity. We know we're going to have some domestic travelers coming through. So it's a good way. It's an awesome way to spotlight our community and get our community engaged. We've got an awesome park and rec program. UCM has an incredible soccer program. So we're going to highlight the things that we have here in our community. We're going to utilize the resources we already have. And we talk about this each meeting. We're all limited. We're all running very thin. So for example, we have Warrensburg Main Street. They have their movie in the park, or outdoor movie. They're going to show a soccer themed movie. And so we have different ideas such as that. We're going to have a passport because why not? It's the World Cup, right? So we're going to have a passport. And then we're going to have, we got an awesome opportunity to be able to have this passport, not only a printed passport, but we're also going to be able to have it on the Discover Warrensburg app, which is the Chambers app. And what a fun way of promoting the app and getting that on everyone's phone. That's maybe they haven't had a chance to put it on there, and maybe get some new ones on there. And then maybe getting those that are utilizing it already to get more adapted to it. But what a cool way to have that on there as well. And they'll be able to utilize and go to the restaurants, go to those businesses that are participating, that are offering those specials, those discounts, getting them into the businesses. We are launching our website, our redesigned website this week, Visit Warrensburg. We're very proud of that. We received a grant to help pay for that, as we normally do for our expenses. And on that page, our website will have a landing page that'll have everything for Summer of Soccer. It's kind of FIFA's world we're living in, so we don't want to get in trouble with using World Cup and FIFA and all of that, because we don't want to pay them. We want to keep our money right here. And so we're calling it the Summer of Soccer. And so we are going to have everything Summer of Soccer, from decals. So those businesses that are participating on the passports, well, they're going to get a decal to put in their windows and their doors to show off, hey, everybody that's coming by, they are participating. Just a visual reminder, hey, it's an exciting time. Come on in. I know the chamber team has a really great, they do paint the town red. They're also going to do a little community pride for everybody to decorate their windows during this time as well, a soccer themed, getting that promotion going as well. So we've got a lot going on, more to come. And we're working on, like I said, we're going to get that website launched. We're going to have all that information, like the Main Street movie, have that all on the calendar, have all that information, the directory of the businesses participating in the passport, all right there on that landing page. It'll be your one-stop resource for all things Summer of Soccer.
All right.
Great.
Yes. Ooh, excellent.
Well, the name is official. You just have to be.
It's official. Right now. I
Oh
just checked.
gosh, are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding.
Oh, hi, my name's Marcy and I'm from Visit Warrensburg.
Make it official.
So Warrensburg is official registered fictitious name.
Oh,
Excellent.
oh, that's exciting. That is very exciting. We have, our official is, Warrensburg Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is very much a mouthful, and everybody kind of just falls asleep after I say Warrensburg. And so our website, everything from our social media is Visit Warrensburg.
Visit
And so
Warrensburg.
We
Okay.
we will be Visit Warrensburg.
Congratulations.
That's awesome. That's great. That's a big deal.
Yeah, you did have something to say. I'm-
Thought I'd double check since you were standing on this.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Oh.